Systematizing your business, being able to step back, untangle yourself from it, and still be confident. There are 9 steps, there are 4 phases, there are 4 areas, there are so many different things to do. Actually, there might just be one. I'm Andrew Laurie from BGB, and I'd like to talk about perhaps the most central, the most foundational thing you can do to make a business work without you, the owner. Now, the reality is, to perfect this and get the business really great and really reliable, there is a bit more to do. But in so many instances, when an owner is looking to step back from their business, they have a team in place. And probably most of the team roughly know what they're doing, and they've probably been there for a little while. And there are probably a few systems and processes in place. They may not be perfect, and not all the management systems might be complete, but broadly speaking, if the business has been running for a while and the team's been in place, there's probably a fair bit that's going right. In which case, it may boil down to one critical thing you have to be clear on. Because when you step back from your business, for many people, one of their greatest concerns is, oh, things are going to get dropped. There's a couple of things, probably several things, that must happen, that need to happen, and I always make sure they happen because I'm the owner. Everything needs to get done. The things that need to get done reliably. And so what I'm talking about here is simply being really clear about who is going to do what. It's about clear accountability for all of the things that matter. So I'm going to suggest a really, really basic process to work through. And hopefully some of this is already in place. If not, it'll tidy up the gaps. So it starts by getting clear on what are the things that need to happen in any business. So you could come up with a list. You could literally write down a list of the 200 odd things, usually in most businesses, that go on in that business, that get done, processes, activities, outcomes. There's 200 odd things that have to happen in the business. And you could then rank your list from sort of the most important things that really make or break the business, that are done quite often probably, they're high value things, right down to the tiny little things that actually sometimes get done but don't matter too much and don't make too much difference. Once you've got that list done, you just start at the top and allocate each activity or outcome on that list to one of the boxes in your org chart. That is to say, one of the jobs, one of the roles you have in your business. And you start to allocate these. Now, you're going to find that there may be a list of 200 there, but there are only going to be 20 odd, maximum 30, but probably not that many. They're going to be about 20, which are the really high value things. These are the big ticket items. This is the stuff that does make or break your business. So you allocate those out across these different roles in your business. When you get to about 5 for any given role, you're probably reaching capacity for that role. Because what we're putting in here on these bigger ticket items, you're talking about the true accountabilities of the role. These are the things that absolutely, for this role to justify its existence, these things must happen. They have to get done. These outcomes have to be delivered. And so these accountabilities are the things that in the end that role, or the person in the role, really get measured on. Because this is the stuff that matters. This is the stuff, by the way, that if they continually fail to deliver on these 5 or so things, they're going to get moved on. They don't get to keep the job, or the job needs to change. You might realize you actually designed it badly. But in the end, there's a small number, handful of things for each role that are absolutely the accountability of that role. Now, you know you're in a good place here when every important item in the business, so every important item up high on that list you did, is the accountability of somebody. So everything must be the accountability of somebody, but only ever the accountability of one person. So some of those important things are not sitting on anyone's list of accountabilities. Well, it's going to fall through the cracks. No one's going to do it at times. If you've got the same thing, the accountability of 2 people, you're going to get lots of this going on. So everything must be the accountability of one person. Now, as you go further down the list, and we're now into the smaller, less important activities and outcomes, those have to be allocated to roles as well. Those become the additional responsibilities of that role. You know, you've got there 5 or so critical accountabilities. That's the stuff that makes or breaks your role. And then there's probably 10, 15, even 20 other things that this person will do, maybe take responsibility for, spend time on, but these are not the things they're going to lose their job for or get a bonus for. These are things that simply make it clear these are other things you're expected to do. So you end up having designed your organisation ensuring that everything that needs to be done is somebody's clear accountability, written accountability. You quickly perform 2 checks at this point. You go through how you've allocated it to these different boxes, these different roles. And you ask a couple of things. Make sure everything is allocated somewhere. And then also just do the reality check. If you've put down the 6 biggest things in the business, the entire business is all sitting in this box over here, well, it's probably going to be too much for that person. If you've put too many, if you've accidentally dropped 10 in there, it's probably not realistic. So change it. So just do that sort of reality check to make sure that each of the boxes is an appropriate size. That is to say, each of the roles. It's realistic that somebody can do it. Now, at that point, it's just communication, making sure everyone knows. These are the roles. This is what each one is accountable for. And we know that that covers everything that's important in the business. At that point, it's simply a case of managing to them and making sure people deliver to them. You might have some indicators listed. How do you keep an eye on each of those important things? Just to know early on if something needs to be adjusted. But at that point, it's really clear who needs to do what. There's a really good chance they do it, and you get to enjoy being untangled from the business and still having confidence that it runs reliably and consistently. All the best then.